Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Rey's lineage and whether or not it was planned out, as some new evidence has surfaced that it may have actually been. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee.
I have spoken.
Hello there to all of the returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding Star Wars Coffee for the first time, be sure to always hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. And don't forget to check out Star Wars Coffee on Twitter and Twitch. And don't forget to check out the official Star Wars Coffee merchandise. Links are in the description below.
Do it!
And now let's go to a galaxy far, far away.
This is the way.
If you guys can recall back to The Force Awakens, directly after that film came out, the whole question was, who is Rey, who are her parents? Because J.J. Abrams gave a lot of what he would call little mystery boxes as to some backstory of this that would be able to be filled in by Rian Johnson and Colin Trevorrow at that point. Little did he know that he was going to be the one filling in the final chapter of those mystery boxes in The Rise of Skywalker. While Rian Johnson may have dropped the ball a bit in The Last Jedi in terms of answering the specific mystery boxes that J.J. Abrams put out in The Force Awakens, we do actually know something now that we didn't in any of the three films, and that is that Rey's lineage may have been planned. So, if you guys are more tuned into the Star Wars community, you'll know the name Pablo Hidalgo, who is an executive over at Lucasfilm, and he is kind of he has the ability to answer questions via Twitter, social media, things like that. He's the one who puts together the art of books, you know, the art of The Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, Force Awakens, etc. And in a production meeting, he actually addressed this concept of Rey being a Skywalker without her being a legitimate Skywalker. And this was from May 21st, 2014. This is from the Art of the Rise of Skywalker book, and this is what it says. I like the idea that she's going to be our Skywalker, but she's not a Skywalker. Then, for our purposes, the Skywalker, quote unquote, is really a metaphor. It doesn't have to be something that's directly connected to blood. Pablo Hidalgo from the May 21st, 2014 IPDG meeting. So isn't that interesting that this concept has been floating around for a bit, and perhaps that's why they had JJ, throw in those mystery boxes without giving us any answers in that film as to who her parents were. And I'm sure that Rian Johnson has addressed that he just wanted to make a movie and he didn't really care about the canon of Star Wars at that point. So I'm going to assume that his vision of Rey's parents was just for her own character development, and we're going to assume that that has nothing to do with her actual parents. And so the fact that this idea has been floating around since 2014 gives credence to the fact that the character of Rey was always the Skywalker, no matter whose parents they decided to do. So if you take a look at all of the videos I did way back when, I think 3 years ago at this point, 2-3 years ago at this point, then you can see the strongest Rey Skywalker theory, Rey's parents proven with one line of dialogue, how Rey left Luke on Jakku, and stuff like that. And those theories were extremely fun to come up with, and I'm sad that it's not exactly 100% correct, considering it's not by blood, but the idea was to make us feel like Rey was the Skywalker of the saga without her actually being the Skywalker of the saga. And if you think about it this way, had they done that and just made Rey the Skywalker, then they wouldn't have been able to say Palpatine, Rey Palpatine, stuff like that. So the few fringe fans who actually got that correct and were promoting Rey Palpatine since The Force Awakens came out based on her lightsaber technique were correct, and they get to be correct. And the interesting thing is, so do the Rey Skywalker fans, considering at the end of the film she takes the name Rey Skywalker, hence the Rise of Skywalker, rise of the next Skywalker being Rey. So it's an interesting way for them to actually conclude the Skywalker saga without leaving the Skywalker lineage, quote unquote, finished in a sense. So if Disney ever gets desperate enough to the point where they want to throw out another trilogy and have it not be the end of the Skywalker saga, they better be able to get Daisy Ridley back, first of all, and figure out a way to bring Adam Driver back from the World Between Worlds, and they better throw him there so that they can bring him back like they did Ahsoka. But it's just such an interesting thing to see, because then in the Rise of Skywalker you have J.J. Abrams able to fill in those mystery boxes specifically about Rey's vision and everything, and talk about, really dive into the fact of who Rey's parents were, and that gives us the best gateway to bring back Palpatine, which, if you have seen my opinion on this subject, maybe I'll do a separate video because I've only mentioned it briefly in certain ones, is that Palpatine should be the big bad of the Skywalker saga, because it proves that he's the only one who's actually able to do this, because otherwise the end of the Skywalker saga means nothing if they didn't end up bringing their prosperity and peace to the galaxy in that sense, and bringing freedom back. So if anybody could do it, like if Snoke had been a different person and could have done it himself, then the whole point of the Skywalkers being the last in line means nothing, because at some point somebody else is just going to rise up like that in that dramatic of a fashion where they can have a whole empire with them. But this proves that that can't happen by bringing Palpatine back, and I think that's really good to see. And so the fact that Pablo Hidalgo has been, tossing this idea around that Rey was not a Skywalker but was a Skywalker, I think gives us a lot of leeway in terms of how we watch these films in hindsight now. Obviously she's a Skywalker, but now we're going to have to look for the blood clues of being a Palpatine, because now we know that Luke, Leia, and Han all knew who Rey was, which just kind of leads to another question of, well, how did they know? And when did this happen? How did this happen? I want to see a spin-off comic on that, because that sounds extremely interesting to see Rey's development. Like, literally, how did Palpatine create her? Was it like a clone type of mechanism like he did, or not? Because it all depends on when this happened in the timeline, right? So let's hope we get a spin-off comic of that, like we get the Rise of Kylo Ren one, which my final review on the Rise of Kylo Ren will be out sometime this week, and then I'll have a group where we go through all 4 of them at the same time. But that wraps things up for me here in this video. If you guys enjoyed it and you do enjoy the content, I started a Patreon. There's 4 different tiers starting as low as $1. I'd really appreciate it if you guys go check that out. But in the meantime, thank you guys for watching. May God bless you and the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this episode, and frankly, even if you didn't, don't forget to subscribe.
Do it.
And if you want to help spread the word, please give this video a thumbs up and tell your friends to subscribe. Please check out the official Star Wars Coffee merchandise, and don't forget to check out all of the content playlists on this channel, including The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and much more.